All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Elliot Spencer Keck's Think Tank. This is the Hillbilly Think Tank, and tonight I've got one of my fellow hillbillies, my little brother, and I'm gonna let. Well, he's not so little anymore, full-grown man, right, Matt? So we're going to talk to you about. So as we get Captain Caveman on here, um, Captain Caveman is going to be talking about some things that he has found that is helping him overcome combat stress without the use of chemicals. And as you know, I am a combat veteran. I'm retired from the military, and my brother, Captain Caveman, was deployed in Afghanistan with our middle brother. And our middle brother lost his leg and hand in Afghanistan. And Matt was there, unfortunately, to see that, the effects of that in country. They were both in the same unit when it happened. All right, Captain, if you don't mind telling us a little about yourself before we get started.
I came in, I actually originally tried to come into the Army, or wanted to, from ROTC. And then I just decided to finish college. That was partially your advice, you and Kelly and Jack. So I stayed in college, graduated with a computer art degree, and then didn't really know if I was going to come in or not still. And then after about a year out of college, I decided 2007, it was time to go on ahead and make the decision. I'd worked at Toyota for a little while, and done all kinds of odd jobs. And joined as a second lieutenant, went through basic training, of course, as a E4, and then came out and went straight into a second lieutenant through OCS and two officers candidate schools after that. So in 2008, Kelly and I deployed together. I got put in his exec unit in Fort Hood, so we deployed together. So that's when all that. Well, I mean, all the stress was from childhood, obviously, from the stuff we went through in childhood, but it wasn't the same type of stress. It was a different, more of an adult, I guess you can call it, version once I got over there and he got injured. So I was there for like 2 months. Stayed June, July, 3 months almost. September, and we were only like a 30-minute flight away. So when he got blown up twice. The first time he got not really blown up, but he got attacked. He got rockets, launched over him. To him and I, it was almost like a video game because we played so many of those games. He was joking about how it sounded the same, and the bullets whizzing over the top of the Humvee sounded like little, whispers almost, like little firecrackers whistling over.
Oh, man.
And the second time I was supposed to go see him because I'd gone out, I'd talked to my commander and had them fly me on the Blue Ring, they call it, which is like a bunch of mostly Canadian retired Vietnam pilots that flew helicopters, for $200,000 a year because it's so dangerous over there with hazard pay. So they
I didn't know that, Matt.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, first time I went to visit him, I flew in a civilian blue. They called it the Blue Ring. It was a contractors. That way the Army wouldn't have to, be liable and lose a machine to fly, just to fly somebody somewhere. He was really good.
So were you the only person that went that time? Like they just did that as a favor, or how'd that turn out?
Yeah, well, yeah, he went and picked up other soldiers, but he took me. It's kind of like a taxi. It's literally what it was, a taxi, like an Uber, helicopter Uber. He would fly to different bases, pick up different soldiers, and move them to another base. So you'd stay out for about an hour and a half or so before you got to where you're going, because he had stops, just like a train stop, like an airport stop. It was pretty neat. I mean,
wow.
we landed in this combat zone. I want to say it's part of Kandahar, because we landed on this area. These soldiers got in, and I had to, all the doors were open, so I had to get smashed back into the jump seat in the very back, so they could all get their rucksacks in, and it was all stacked to the ceiling. And then I found out later that they usually mortar you, and so my soldiers told me they must have ran out of mortar shells at that moment. So I'm like, you telling me I sat there for 5 minutes and I could have gotten mortared? And they were like, yeah, they usually mortar every single helicopter that comes in. They must have been on a break or run out of shells.
So that those guys you were picking up, the soldiers you were picking up, why were they down in Kandahar?
They were transferring them to different bases. They move them around. So
Okay.
they had maybe a news station, or maybe they were going home for leave or whatever. So they pick them up and bring them back to a bigger base. My base was like Camp Finty, Bob Finty. So it was like a medium-sized base, and then Bagram was like the large base, like the city, pretty much city size.
All right. Well, when I went in, let's see, you guys were there what year again? You said
2008.
Yeah. So when when the attack happened, and I went in with the 15th Marine Expeditionary Unit, we did the longest helo raid in history. We flew from the USS Peleliu over Pakistan and into Afghanistan. The Peleliu was off the coast of Pakistan at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And where we raided, it had been supposedly some, I guess, warlord or whatever that I think he might have been on the payroll of the CIA. Had a compound there, and he was probably if I remember correctly, probably a opium or poppy, producer. But anyway, we were south of Kandahar, so Camp Rhino. So when we end up having some of our element pushed up into Kandahar, that's we had our first major casualties right there. That I guess the airfield area in Kandahar, it was full of mines, and they hadn't reported it. So our EOD tech, explosive ordnance disposal, for those that aren't in the military, technician was leading the way with our light amphibious reconnaissance unit. They had dismounted from their vehicles, and they were walking in trace behind the EOD tech. He had already been detached for like a month or two in country. He'd been sent off to work with SIF, or Special Forces, Army Special Forces. And then this Marine, EOD tech came back to us. They went up to Kandahar, and the Marines were walking in trace of these infantry LAR guys, and all of a sudden, quite a few of them stepped on landmines. The EOD tech didn't get hit, but so they're screaming for one of the Philip Corpsmen, like me, the E5 that was about to retire right after that deployment, right? They were screaming, Corpsman up, get the Corpsman. So he had to do the old school, go in with he's running towards the casualties, right, to go take care of them. And they're screaming, Doug, get the fuck down! There's a minefield, and we don't know where the fuck they are. Get down! So he's down doing the belly crawl, slithering towards them while probing all the way with his K-bar. Did you ever have that training? How to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So as he's moving towards these, a bunch of severely wounded Marines, legs and arms blown off, they're shrieking and crying in agony, and he's moving towards them on his belly, sliding inch by inch toward them, as fast as he slowly can, while moving that K-bar knife. For those of aren't in the military and are listening to us, he's having to push that knife slowly into the ground. If he felt anything, had to dig and see if it was a mine or not, And as he's doing that, he's given all the Marines directions on how to render first aid to themselves, and save themselves before you get to them. He does that, man, for God damn, sorry to all the viewers, we're talking like combat vets, but yeah, I mean, it took excruciating long time. He actually goes to every single one of them, rescues them, gets them out of there. And when we hear it back, when we hear the story later, everybody's like, oh, thank God there was a Navy SEAL corpsman nearby that came and saved them. Like, no. What happened was there did happen to be a SEAL corpsman, in the area in the AOR. And but we also had our battalion surgeon and an independent duty corpsman, which I later became. By that time I wasn't one. So I was an E6, with highly advanced training, medical training, and our battalion surgeon. So it's a doctor. They did come, but by the time they got there, he had already rendered aid and gotten them out of the kill zone.
Wow.
And the SEAL heard about it, and he did hop on their vehicle and came with them. But my friend had already rescued them all.
Mhm.
What kind of award do you think he got for that, Matt?
Probably nothing.
Yeah, exactly. A big fat nothing. The E6, the hospital corpsman first class, was independent duty corpsman, for the battalion. He got a medal at the end of that deployment, but it wasn't for that. It was for him insisting that he go on another raid, which he had no business going on. Should have been just junior corpsman, But he went on. Another time they were doing operations in the Kandahar area, and he shot his 9mm out the window while they were, lighting up some enemy, Taliban, and they wrote up, those two incidents as if he was, a hero, and the guy that, the E5 that did all that heroic stuff. Not only did he not get a medal for it, he didn't even get a high eval that cycle. So they should have meritoriously promoted him to E6 and let him retire as an E6. But no. So sorry, that's just to kind of give people a little bit of background as to what you and I went through. How we got to the point where we need the type of treatment that we're going to talk about tonight. So if you don't mind, I'm sorry for interrupting the more important story, which is yours and Kelly's. So
That's fine.
So Kelly was, for anybody who I haven't told yet, our brother Kelly Keck was a combat medic, and he was. So you say he was how far was the flight on that helo away from you? Where you were stationed at?
I don't know if they were a direct shot. I want to say. Oh, excuse me. I think when I did the Army helicopter, I didn't do the Army helicopter the first time. I think it was 30 minutes is what they told me, but it took me like an hour to get there because we stopped at different places.
Okay, yeah.
The base we stopped at had those Big Brother balloons hovering over it, like they had cameras on them, so they could watch all day and all night.
Oh, sure. This is before drones became a major deal.
Yeah, we had the drones, but it's expensive to fly a drone when you can just put the hot air balloon up in there and it just stays there and doesn't move.
Right.
It's actually a good idea. I've actually thought about doing that myself, getting a little small one and putting security cameras on it, have a bird's eye view of your property.
Oh man, you just came up with the perfect solution.
Every time they run out of air, you're just gonna bring them down for a little bit and put hot air back in them or helium. But anyway, I went there and visited him one night against my commander's wishes. I was actually qualifying with the special forces. The special forces guys wanted me to join them for some reason. So every time we go to the DFAC, they'd come over to my table, occasionally and try to recruit me. And they let me shoot on their range. So I was actually in there that day that I was supposed to leave to go see him. I just finished the range with them, which of course is super comfortable. Special forces are like super laid back guys.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Had their own DFAC, had CIA women, there with looking like they came out of the Tomb Raider movies off their 4-wheelers. It was neat, but
oh my god.
1 hour, 20 minutes,
one closest somewhere. Yeah.
But anyways,
and so
I have to kind of shorten the story up a little bit there before we got attacked. I made a good friend with a guy named Hoshall, who it was KHOSHLLALL, and I called him Koshal because I thought, that's how you're supposed to say his name, KOHSHALL. Sounds like Koshal. And
Yeah.
later I found out in Pashtun that means asshole. So we've been calling him an asshole for like 2 or 3 months. He was like,
Oh my God.
it's not koshal, it's koshal. I was like, what's koshal? And he was started laughing and he was like, it means butthole. So, anyways, he was my go-to. I don't know why I was more attracted to hanging out with Afghan army, nationals and locals than I was, most of us, because I'd always been that way. I always liked hanging out, with other cultures. And
Yeah, which is probably why the special forces wanted you to join them, because that's a great thing to be able to do and have. They probably noticed that,
Yeah, it probably is. In fact, that does make sense because it's around that same time. But he was also friends with a lot of other NCOs in the past, so he kind of like latched onto me. I was his new buddy. I probably ate over 100 meals sitting on the ground during the 12 months I was there.
Yeah,
But
that's all special forces style, work.
it was fun. I mean, I enjoyed it. I still miss it sometimes. I smell fire burning outside, like in the country, and it smells like a cooking fire, and I immediately get taken back there. And it's not like a PTSD moment. It's like I miss it. It was a camping experience to me. It was almost like I can't explain it. Diesel smoke's the same with the generators running.
Oh yeah,
reminds me of that. But anyways, long story short, when Kelly second time he went out, he was supposed to come to my base because I went to his base, and he was supposed to come to my base for longer than 10 minutes because he would come in for supply runs and he'd be there for 20 or 30 minutes, and he had to leave. And
right.
He was
when you say supply runs, of course, he was grabbing medical supplies, right?
Yeah, well, anything, medical supplies, the cooks were getting their food, all that stuff. It was just a restocking convoy.
Yeah,
and it's cheaper than going by helicopter, and you could carry more. But he was supposed to show up there. Then I got my platoon sergeant was sitting on there. It's like it was yesterday. In fact, it's a whole other story later. Like I was telling you about with this Operation Motorsport thing. This is the first time I've been able to actually tell the story without feeling, kerplunked.
yeah.
And but I remember him sitting by the phone. There was a phone on the wall, and he was he always answered the phone like it was our platoon phone. And I sat on the desk next to the door when you came in, and he picked up the phone, and then he looked at me when he was on it, and he nodded a few things, and he kind of hung up the phone, and he just kind of sat there like he staring at the wall, like he didn't know what to do. It was. I guess he was just kind of trying to run through whatever he was going to say. And he really liked me. Like he was a really good guy. Like him and I were like we're supposed to be. We were really close buddies.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he was like, "Sir, we need to go to the aid station real quick." And I was like, "For what?" Like I thought it was another damn drug test because they made me take these quote unquote random drug tests all the time because they knew that I would never pop hot because I didn't do drugs or do anything.
Oh no shit.
So they would always tell me like, "Hey sir, you got another random drug test." I'm like, "These aren't random. Like I'm getting these every time. Like what's going on here?" and I took it personally. I thought somebody was attacking me, like personally trying to stress me out. And he was like, "No."
Yeah.
He's like, they're doing that because they know you're a square, and then they don't have to worry about you ever messing up the unit.
Holy crap! That's interesting, man. I wonder. That takes me back sometimes. I wonder if that's what the Marines would, the corpsman would seem to
probably
do
was.
Yeah.
Chances were quite low.
Wow.
But I remember walking and like I could feel the gravel more than ever. Like I knew something was wrong. I had a what do you call it, intuition or whatever you want to call it before that happened. It's almost like I had already seen it. That it's like deja vu. Like I'd already been through that.
Yeah. Right.
And it was like a spiritual moment for me. But and
I don't mean to interrupt you big time, Matt, but I thought you had told me once that they told you, hey, your brother got his Humvee got hit or his vehicle got hit.
He told me they told me when I was walking there. When he was telling me he was trying to make up the story to make it sound like it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But when I saw the Blackhawk land and only one stretcher come off and then straight into the Humvee and there wasn't any movement, I was like, oh, this is not I still wanted to believe it. I was like, well, maybe it is a concussion and he's just resting, and then when
now Matt, I guess there's more of the story than I thought I heard it all, but no, there's more of it. So when you saw him come off the Blackhawk, how far away was he when he came off?
Probably like
from you when you saw that?
maybe 1/8 of a mile away if it was a racetrack distance.
Okay.
Like, it was
Because
viewable.
I thought I remember you saying that he was still smoldering when you saw him.
No, he was. That's when I got to I actually got to the aid station. My sergeant, I found out, was trying to drag me slowly so that they would get there, get him inside, get him out of view, and it didn't work. Like the Humvee slowed down, maybe for somebody crossing the road. I don't know what they did, and so we ended up coming there right when the Humvee was backed up and taking him out instead of already inside. And so he looked. Only way I can explain it is one side of him looked like a Texas brisket, blackened brisket.
Wow, shit. Woo, you're gonna make me start crying while I'm driving. Fudge. Oh, goddamn. Oh, man, you told me that before, but oh man. Yeah.
Yeah. His nurse, everybody, all the Afghanis wanted to marry his nurse. I'll never forget her name because it was so crazy. His last name was Sidebottom.
What was it? Sidebottom?
Yeah, medic nurse Sidebottom. She was
man.
super nice girl, decently pretty, but she didn't know that Kelly and I were brothers until then. Like, we'd have been hiding it the whole time from everybody. Nobody knew.
Yeah.
And
just a second, so everybody knows, like, Matthew is our youngest brother. So we had Kelly and I had one dad, and then my mom remarried. Matthew's dad, was a different dad. So that's how they had this happen. I guess we should tell him that, like, Kelly got you into his unit, and he didn't tell him either that he was bringing his brother in. He just said he knew that this newly graduated Signal Corps officer that would be great for the unit. Right?
Yeah, great
they needed one for Big Red 1. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they had so much respect for him that they're like, okay, yeah, we'll bring him over. Not realizing it was a brother they were bringing the unit. Sorry about that. I just want to make sure people knew that, understood that.
That's why we were sitting outside after they put him inside. We were sitting out there for probably, I don't know, a good 20 minutes, and my platoon sergeant was taking it almost harder than I was. I still keep in touch with him. His name Gary Biggs, really super awesome guy from Georgia, and he was deployed like 4 or 5 times too, and he actually ended up getting a divorce. His wife cheated on him, wrecked his truck, all kinds of stuff during that deployment.
4 or 5 times after that, or before that?
Before that, he was in Iraq and everywhere, all over the place.
Yeah.
But he was trying to like, he was worried that I was going to freak out, and then I really wasn't. Then I think he started to freak out and didn't realize he was freaking out because he like killed you. We all that was their medic, that was their dude. All of us been trained. And
he had been highly respected. He had trained your whole was it battalion, right, before the deployment? Were you guys battalion size or were you larger? I don't.
Yeah, battalion.
Okay. Yeah, and he trained everybody in combat lifesaver skills before the deployment.
Yeah, that sucked. All the having to take each other's blood and all that stuff I didn't want to ever do. Stabbing each other with big needles.
Yeah.
But doing the breath, the throat thing, shoving the tube down your throat and all that stuff. Sidebottom enjoyed that. She did it so many times. She didn't even it didn't even bother her. So she was like really good at showing that off. But anyways, yeah. So that's when the real PTSD started. After that, of course, but it was. Sorry. So Sidebottom came out and she was like, "Is there Lieutenant Kellogg out here? I don't know why he's yelling for him. Is that somebody he knows?" And I'm like, "I'm his brother," and she knew me. She knew me really well because I was always hanging out with him, and she just thought we were buddies, like friends. And she was like, "Wait a second, like what? We're gonna have to talk about this later." She didn't want to talk about it right then, but she was just like, "Oh my god, what are you talking about?" Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And it was
because of course she knew him well too then, right? Because didn't he outrank her?
Yeah, I think he was 1 rank above her. Yeah, I think she was E4 at that time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But yeah, he couldn't see, he could see, but he couldn't see where he was laying, face up, facing away from the door. So he was like yelling.
You're gonna make me cry again. Oh shit!
I haven't like talked in detail since Wales last year. So this is and I had a really tough time,
Yeah.
man. When it was like 3 hours.
Oh,
into the
yeah.
night. But I
Yeah.
showed him all the videos and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
he was like, he just kept yelling my name, Matt, where are you? Like he
Oh,
knew I was
shit.
there. He knew
Did he hear you?
yeah, well, you know how Kelly and I were. We didn't.
Yeah.
We had our times, which is really rare. Where we didn't get along perfect all the time, but we kind of like had a second language, kind of had a sixth sense of each other.
Yeah. And for those of you that don't know you and me, that was from suffering from child abuse from mom's second husband.
Yeah. Yeah, and being allowed. Yeah, it was. But we made up our own. We had
You
our own little
developed that
language.
ESP. Isn't that called ESP? You had that ESP, right?
Oh yeah, he knew I was there. He knew I wouldn't like not show up at all. He knew I was probably there before he even arrived. I mean, he wouldn't.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I didn't want to like look, so I stayed above his head, like behind him, because I didn't.
Yeah.
I'd already seen enough, and I don't want to say more. It was already hard enough.
So you're saying that the medic let you in as soon as she realized that you were the Matt that he was calling out.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And he was just telling me, he was doing the usual movie line stuff, tell everybody I love him and all that stuff. He thought he was gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Damn.
But and then it was like, he was like, tell my wife I love her, which of course, that's a whole other story. I didn't want to say anything at that moment. I was like, really?
Right. Yeah.
Sure about that?
The person who abuses you.
Yeah. But just because like we all are, we when you get to a position like that, you start to put things aside, like, it's not as big of a deal, during that moment. Because plus it was his daughter's mother, so he probably hit that.
Yeah, and he loved his daughter to death. Yeah.
So anyways,
his daughter was the most important person in his life. And then you and me.
Yeah, they took him away after that. Like shortly after that, the only reason he stayed there was for them to stitch his fingers semi back together, because they were all hanging off. Like you couldn't really tell what fingers went where, and they pretty much just emergency stitched the ones they recognized.
Yeah.
And
Shit.
And that's how he got that's how he got the lobster claw. The middle finger got moved over to the index finger so he could have something to pinch with and all that stuff. They did the first stages there because it was they needed to.
Let me describe that a little bit for everybody else that doesn't know the story. So he what happened was Kelly was on a mounted patrol, so they're patrolling in vehicles. Did they have MRAPs at that time, Matt, or were they still in the up-armored Humvees?
He was in the MRAP that time.
They had just gotten the MRAPs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so the MRAP was a much heavier duty, much more armored vehicle than the one, than the Humvees that he had previous to that, which had been crap for when they got ambushed. But so they're on this mounted patrol, so it means they're patrolling in vehicles, and the lead vehicle got hit by a mine, and Kelly's platoon sergeant goes, "Hey, let's go, kid," and they hop out of the vehicle to go check on casualties in the lead vehicle, and Kelly was following in trace, meaning right in the footsteps behind his platoon sergeant, and then Kelly steps on a landmine while he's going to take care of people in the vehicle ahead of him. So what they found out later was that they figured out that they had been probing his unit for quite some time. They staged attacks, and they looked to see what did they do when they'd attack them. Now, my unit,
the second lieutenant was terrible. He actually went the same route multiple times, you're not supposed to do, and they could easily track where they were going. And
there you go.
They went up to have a meeting. They went up to have a meeting that day on a hill, and it gave they actually put the ambush up. From what they said, they set it up while they were in that meeting because they took so long, like 30 minutes to an hour, and so they put all that stuff together while they were at that meeting. So as soon as they came back down, it was all new. So they didn't have any idea.
Oh man, he told me the story about that's the meeting, I guess, where he told me about a meeting where they had asked for treatment for an 8-year-old girl that was wounded, but his lieutenant was refusing to allow that treatment unless the people in the village would I don't know, swear to something. I can't remember what it was. And Kelly's like, well, I can treat her, because he knew that they were claiming that it was our ordinance or whatever that had, hurt the girl, And yeah, well, he told me all kinds of stuff. But that second lieutenant, first lieutenant.
Yeah, the young African American guy. I met him. He was really nice on his base, but he was really bad at commanding. Really bad at doing his job.
Well, he gotten him lost. Kelly had written and talking about it before for like and in what we call engine country out there in the danger, like the worst area for for these insurgents. And before that, So when he got blown up, he luckily, because he had trained everyone before that deployment, he had to direct the platoon sergeant to remember what he trained him on. Put on the tourniquets on his leg, because his leg was blown off right below the knee, his right leg, and then his left hand. Had, like you said, had been mostly all blown off, or his fingers had, and the only thing that saved those 2 digits that they were able to save was, I guess, that was where he had them wrapped around the rifle that he had in his hand, right?
Something like that. I don't know.
So, yeah, I think that's what he told me. So, and then the guy got the tourniquets on. Kelly's explaining how they need to be extremely tight, stop the bleeding, and he was in so much pain. He's like, "Hey, you got to give me morphine, get on my kit." He's like, "I can't do that, doc. I'm not a medic." He's like, "I'm the medic. I'm your doc." Do like I'm telling you, I cannot. I will not. I can't bear any more of this pain. He fumbled around, trying to load the syringe and messed up the first one, and finally got the second one in. And then they, medevaced him, like you're saying. So yeah, sorry. Now we go back to your story. So you were there at his head, you said?
Yeah, I standing behind him, and he just kept yelling for me until I grabbed the one good arm on his right side, and then pretty much just held his hand, so he knew I was there. And then he calmed down. He told me later he wouldn't have even made it past that. He told me later that if I hadn't been there, he wouldn't have made it. Mentally, he said he would have passed from the mental anguish if he was alone.
Fuck yeah, man! Shit, damn. And you said also, was it when you walked? Was it as you walked into the tent, or was it once you got to his head that they were telling that he was begging them to save his manhood if they could?
I don't remember that part. He might have been. I can't remember that part.
Yeah. Like you told me that years ago.
Yeah, that was later actually, and when he went to Bagram, the major came in and joked about it. He's like, "Well, at least you got your manhood still there." And I remember thinking, "What were you doing, sitting there staring at it?" And I mean, you were in awe.
But but he did receive some shrapnel in that area.
Yeah, around his groin area.
Yeah.
But I stayed at the hospital in Bagram against my commanders, even the Colonel Spicer. I stayed at that Bagram hospital for 3 days.
That was after they flew him from where you were to Bagram, right?
Yeah, they flew him from.
Yeah.
They let me go immediately. I think I went the next morning. I don't think it was that night, but they let me go the very next morning and meet up with him there, and then I stayed there for 3 days. It's a whole other story. I could write a whole book on that. Those 3 days. That was one of the longest 3 days ever.
Well, we need to, Matt. We talked about that. We need to. Seriously, but so let's see. That they let you go. You called me, or you called our house. Let's see, on September 13th. Same day. I mean, you called me same day, right? Well, no, I'm sorry. You called Oksana first.
Yeah, I called her first because Kelly asked me to.
Oksana. Yeah. Oh, yeah. She took. Okay, and then she called. us. So I was stationed with the Marines in Camp Lejeune. So I was with the Raider Battalion, and and uh, and then you called later. Not much later that day. You gave me a call also. Yeah, and I mean, Jesus Christ, So to kind of drive home what we're talking about, Matt. So you were in college here in Kentucky. I'm actually on the road right now, leaving. I just left Moorhead, and just drove through Lexington. But you were in college at Moorhead State University along with Kelly when the attack happened on September 11th, 2001. I was on deployment. Now Kelly had already been a Marine for 4 years before college. Then he got out, went to college, and he was, let's see, when the attack happened, he was 3 months away, right, from graduating that December with his degree in social work. Yeah. He was he's going to be a December graduate. So if you remember, I can't remember. I think it was October. Yeah, if I remember correctly, October and November maybe. Because we had after the attack, I was in Australia when the attack happened, training in the Outback, like I talked to you about yesterday, I think. And then we flew. In our ship went to East Timor for 1 to 3 days because we were supposed to have gone there to help with that. They were going through a crisis. They've been butchering each other in East Timor, if you remember, right at that time. We went there to do a mission there, and then went, steamed straight to the coast of Pakistan. And we went into Pakistan, the 15th Butte. First, my special operations platoon. We went in Pakistan. There was an airfield there that the U.S. had built back in the Cold War. We built it for Pakistan to be able to fight against Russia. And then, but the Cold War ended, and we had never given the Pakistani any airplanes, I guess. So, it was a airfield that was built by us, but it had never been used by them really. So we went in. There were not supposed to be any combatant troops there. I'm not giving the intel away right now. Oh crap! There's Rebecca ahead of me. There was no. There weren't supposed to be any combatant troops in Pakistan. Pakistanis didn't want any, U.S. combatant troops there, but they were going to allow the Air Force Air Rescue Unit to come in, right? So we set up. Basically, they wanted the Marines to go in first because the Air Force is a bunch of pussies, too scared to secure their own landing field, right? We went in, secured it for them, and that's actually an interesting story, but I want to get off topic. But we were there, and then while we've been there a few weeks to a month, so it was either October or early November. In order to thank us, because they were so thankful to have us there, doing security for them. The Air Force was. They gave us a free phone call. So, at that point in 2001, no one had any cell phones with them on deployments. Yeah. And there was no way to just call home frequently like became possible when you were over there. Of course, you were Signal Corps, so that was easy as heck, right?
Yeah, wasn't bad.
But what we had to do was they set up a telephone. It was a rotary dial, and it was hooked up to a ham radio. Was it? No. That was get wars mixed up. Sorry. They gave us a phone call on a rotary dial phone, and each one of us got to go in, make a call. And so I decided, of course, I was going to call you and Kelly because you were both living in Moorhead, both going to Moorhead State University. And like I said, he just had a few months to graduate. Now, before that, if you remember, I don't know if you ever heard Kelly and me talk about this, but once I got into the special operations platoon, I'm like, man, Kelly, you got to get into special operations with me. Come back in the Marine Corps, be our second lieutenant. It'd be awesome. I'd be your medic, your hospital corpsman. I'd be your combat corpsman in your platoon, and you'd be my platoon commander. We'd have so much fun. Fast rope and do all this high speed, low drag stuff. But then the attack happened, and those dreams went out the fucking window. So I was like, there's no fucking way in hell. I wanted Kelly, in country, right? Like I said, you were both college students. So I call you guys. Do you remember, did you answer the phone or did Kelly?
I don't remember.
So I talked to both of you, but let's see, I maybe Kelly, I remember there was two things I wanted. I wanted large-faced playing cards because every time there was a sandstorm, it would ruin the regular cards, and you couldn't see the little, small numbered ones. We like to play a bunch of spades in the field, to kill time. And I wanted baby wipes because I'd been a month or so or longer by that point without a shower. That wasn't fun for the skin. And then one night I was in this fighting hole, some of the Marines, and turned out we were all, hillbillies, rednecks, country boys. And we started talking about what we missed about home, what we'd like to eat. And we're like, oh man, what about eggs cooked over easy instead of having to be scrambled like they are in the goddamn ship? Of course, we weren't on the ship anymore, but we were tired of every time you go to the mess hall on the ship that you had to have them scrambled. Couldn't get them, with the yolks runny or nothing. I just had to be scrambled. We're like, yeah. And I like them, fried and either country fried style with bacon grease or sausage grease, or even better, country ham. They're always like, oh yeah, country ham. What do you know about country ham? I'm from Kentucky. We call it Kentucky ham. I'm not going around talking like that. Like boys, if we get to make a phone call home, I'm gonna ask my brothers to send us a country ham, and we'll all get together and share it together. Like, all right. So if you remember, when I called you guys, they told that we had a gunnery sergeant, so that's E7 sitting right next to us, and if we said where we were, he was going to cut the line. And I knew that because that same thing had happened. First Gulf War. One time I got to call home, talk to Papa and Mama. So Kelly's like, so how you doing? I'm like, well, he's like, what do you want? Anything you want for Christmas, Thanksgiving? I'm like, yeah, I'd like you to send me large face playing cards, baby wipes, and country ham. And Kelly, when I say country ham, Kelly's like, well, country ham? Like I thought they fed you real good on the ship, right? And I go, well, MREs taste okay right now, because I couldn't say, where I was. But he said, being a former Marine, he knew immediately if I was eating MREs, I wasn't on the ship anymore. So he started worrying big time, right? And then he said, hey, the Marines have sent me a letter. They want me to come back on active duty since he'd been, a C-130 mechanic. They wanted to come back on active duty to do that. Now, we already had a C-130 crash, and we lost the whole crew. And I knew the crew; they were fucking awesome, I'm like Kelly, are they asking you to come back in the Marine Corps, or are they ordering you to come back in the Marine Corps? Because I think they're just asking. I'm like, well, you can tell them to go fuck themselves, until you graduate college in December, and they can commission you. They don't need to make you a C-130 mechanic. You're almost done with college. He's like,
Mhm.
yeah, okay, that sounds right. It's like my advisors, his social, his social work teachers and advisors absolutely loved him, because as a kid who grew up in abuse, you could tell shit from Shanella, unlike the other kids who were studying with him.
Mhm.
So it's like, yeah, they're begging me not to do it. I'm like, yeah, please listen to them, please. All this shit that I'd, tell them before about trying to get him to be a lieutenant, back in the Marine Corps and be my commander. Yeah, I was like, fuck. I couldn't tell him, but the last thing I wanted to do was to have to, take care of him as a combat casualty, So what I didn't want to have happen, you were the one that, was there, when it did happen later, when he ended up, when he graduated, couldn't get lost his job at the state as a social worker because Bush cut the funding for state, for social programs like that. And they're like, hey, we love here in Kentucky. They're like, yeah, we love you, Mr. Keck. You're doing a great job, but we got to keep our married folks that have kids employed. So he lost that job, and then when he came out to live with me for a bit, when I got back from combat, as you know, he joined the Army when his wife got pregnant. Hey, Matt, you remember what you said, though, when I talked to you on the phone that time? At all? I asked you, but you asked me what I wanted, right? If you could send me anything, and I
Mhm.
gave you the same list. I'm like, yeah, large face playing cards, country ham, and baby wipes. When I said baby wipes, you cackled. You're like, baby wipes? Why do you need baby wipes? It was like, oh, so I guess I don't want to know. I thought you
Yeah.
thought. I guess you thought I was going to do something nasty with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course I couldn't say because I'm in country. I need to clean my nasty ass. But yeah, of course you hadn't been in the military yet, so you didn't know. But Kelly said he knew. Once I was asking for that. So Matt,
Yeah.
yeah. So if you don't mind, so tell. So you were with him in Bagram for how long?
3 days. Well, 2 days it was supposed to be, but he flew to Germany and they accidentally gave him too much painkiller and actually stopped his heart. So they had to turn and bring him back in midair. Like I said, they left
Yeah.
the ground.
So you called me on that second day. It was I'm trying to think, 3, 4 in the morning, Lejeune time, and you called me and you're like, hey, Spencer, things are gonna be all right. I put him on a plane to
Germany, Ramstein,
Germany. Yeah,
Germany,
yeah.
for long school or
And
one of those.
I launch school, yeah. And I had a really good friend that I got to hospital corps school with, and he was actually deployed there, for the war. He was at launch school working. He was a psychological technician, as a hospital corpsman, the psychologist. So I asked him, he's a good old Kentucky boy like us. Asked him to look him up, and he did. Which is like Kelly was so so high on morphine at the time, he wasn't sure if you would had a conversation, but he wasn't sure if he was going to remember it.
Yeah.
But to back up a little bit, when you called me 2 days, like you said, that 2 day point, I had breathed a sigh of relief. I'm like, oh, thank God, and like things are going to be good. I actually got some good sleep. I hadn't slept good in 2 days. I'm sure people, of course, can't fucking matter. Imagine, because you said you had been scrubbing him down for 2 days straight, right? Scrubbing the black soot off of him, helping him not look like he was a fried brisket, as you said.
Yeah, I was shaving his face and brushing his teeth and all that stuff for him.
Yeah. And they were scrubbing him down, getting all that off of him, right?
Yeah.
And yeah. So I remember. So I was really, really happy, and then you called me crying and said that they had killed him in flight and had to turn the plane back around and bring him back to Bagram. And they were
He didn't know
to
that either. And I told
resuscitate him.
him, I told him that story. He was chuckling about it. Like, what the heck are you talking about? Crazy?
Yeah.
I'm going, yeah.
So,
He didn't know it, of course.
you know, man, he had 9 lives. He had, you know, when he was young, he had a febrile seizure. One time, just happened to be on a visit when, you know, when my dad, or, you know, Kelly's my dad, was visiting us, and he was driving, mom and him, we were driving around, I think our papa's truck, yeah. And all of a sudden, Kelly went into a febrile seizure, you know, having this crazy seizure. They pulled into a emergency room in some eastern Kentucky town, and he got you know, they saved Kelly's life. You know, Kelly survived it. He had another febrile seizure in church in Austin, Texas, and that's where I was actually out of that experience that mom met your dad. And then later, when you know, your dad and mom were together, I was living at that point. Mom had sent me back to live with Papa and Mama, you know, in Kentucky. But Kelly drank some poison. You heard about that story?
Yeah.
I guess they had it in a Coke bottle. It was like used it to spray bugs or whatever, and Kelly thought it was soda pop. You know, and brought it to him like he was foaming at the mouth. Mama, this soda pop tastes funny. And the doctors had actually told mom to buy a headstone, you know, get a burial plot, you know. And but he ended up surviving that, you know. So yeah, 9 lives, man. But yeah, so got tough, man. Cause this, you know, you know, it's, of course, my dad who found him hanging in his closet in what, 4.5 years, almost 5 years after you were part of that rescue operation from him, you know.
Yeah, one day was my birthday.
Yeah, one day on your birthday, right?
Right before my birthday, yeah, the day before.
Yeah. And you called me about that too. I was stationed in oh man, I was stationed in Virginia, in Virginia Beach. I was at Oceana, you know, Naval Medical Clinic. In my office, you gave me a call. Came here. Did you ask me if I was sitting down or?
Oh yeah.
Oh no. What am I saying? You didn't call me. Dad called me. Dad called me and said, Spencer, remember what you told me when Kelly got blown up? You asked me if I was sitting down. I'm like, yeah. He's like, son, are you sitting down? You know? Man, fuck. You know, I was just getting ready to start my day, you know, early in the morning, and started crying. You know, he told me he had found Kelly. You know, I can't remember if I called you right away or did Dad call you?
No, you called me.
You remember? I called you. Yeah. And yeah, and of course man, crying right now. You know, it's raining here, so I guess it's appropriate. So you know, man, Lupe and Dad and you know, son Jesse were, you know, really close. You know, so I had to tell Lupe, but man, my chain of command, you know, at that point, man, they were really gracious and awesome with me. You know, they knew I was in no right frame of mind to be able to drive a vehicle. You know, especially not my personal vehicle. So they drove me from Oceana, you know, the naval base. Actually, I was at Dam Neck naval base, where same one where you know, Dev Group, SEAL Team 6 is at. You know. They drove me from Dam Neck Medical Center. That's actually, you know, was a clinic I was working at, and drove me all the way over to Norfolk, Virginia, where Lupe worked. You know, and we walked in. She was working at a security company. She took care of issuing out all their uniforms. And as we went in, she could tell something was really, really wrong, you know. And she's like, oh, and she, you know, I think either I was crying or started crying when I saw her. She starts crying, you know, screaming. That morning we had an argument basically because her mom was in the hospital, you know, and she was trying to get me to decide whether she should fly there or not. Because this was, you know, I was going to retire that October. This was March. She was extremely worried about not having enough money. And what if I didn't have a job yet when I retired, you know, and she wanted me to make the decision about whether she should fly to her mom's or not, you know. I'm like, Lupe, I can't do that, you know. I cannot make that decision. This is, you know, that's an important decision. That's your mom, you know. Well, we don't have the money. I'm like, Lupe, you've got a credit card, you know. Yeah, I was almost late to. I might have even been late to my formation that morning, you know, before the call, right? So she immediately was like, she didn't know if I was had, you know, news about her mom, you know, and then when I told her it was, you know, Kelly, of course, she just even started crying and, you know, blubbering right away. So thank God my chain of command, if I remember correctly, I can't remember who drove us home, how we even got, you know, back to our house, but they, you know, her job let her off, you know, and yeah, she ended up flying to San Diego, you know, where she's from, see her mom in the hospital. Her mom was in ICU. She did that though after we went up to Maryland to have that memorial service for Kelly. You know, we didn't get to bury Kelly, of course, in Arlington until a few months later. And then her mom died, you know, after she was there. You know, so she was there when her mom died. So that all happened, man, in what, you know, March. So this is just our long way of telling, you know, the story, because it's even longer, you know,
Forever.
all you went through, you know, and we went through, you know, but I mean, the trauma that I knew I wanted to protect myself from, you know, seeing him in a battalion 8 station in the field, you know, as damn as you saw him, man, I knew back in 2001, you know, when I talked to you guys that October, November, you know, had that conversation on the phone and with you guys in Moorhead, I'm like, I did not want Kelly back in the military in my unit, you know, or anywhere in my area operation, you know, to be the one to treat him and see him like that, you know. So the fact that you went through that after our whole childhood of trauma, you know, child abuse that we survived and that together, you know, they call that complex PTSD, you know.
Yeah.
So now I've gone through, well, as soon as that happened with Kelly, I mean, I went into a major severe depression, and I had a couple of those in my life. The first time was after you, and I just told you that story recently. You and our younger sister Wendy came to visit Kentucky with Mom. You know, I was in college down in Nashville, going studying nursing. You know, the Navy was, you know, sending me to nursing school, and Kelly was at let's see, I think he was in. I don't think he was in the Marines anymore. I think he had maybe done his time, or was it
I did time.
before he joined? I can't remember.
He was in Florida.
What's that?
Florida, working with one of Jack's.
Yeah, our uncle. Yeah, Jack, my dad's brother. Yeah. No. I mean, no. When you and Wendy came to visit with Mom and Peter before Mom and Peter finally divorced. I think I can't remember. I can't remember if it was how long it was after he left Alaska. You guys were living. Let's see. You guys were already living in Montana.
We live in Bozeman, yeah.
Yeah. So, I can't remember, man, if he was in the Marine Corps or if he was already out and then going to Moorhead State. I think he must have. No, he had already. Yeah, he was already out going to Moorhead State. That's it. So we both went up there to visit. You know, West Liberty,
Mm.
and we were just so happy to see you and Wendy, you know. But that triggered a lot of the childhood trauma and memories I shared with you, you know, seeing how I knew you guys were still being so abused. I could just see it in your behavior, your fear, you know, how you were scared to be happy, you know.
Mm.
Anytime you were happy, you know, you had to look over fast to see if you were going to get beat, you know, smacked, you know, or in trouble later, you know. As
Yeah.
I was telling you, was it last night I was telling you, Papa gave you a pocket knife, and you had to look over quickly to see if Peter approved, and Peter came over to, you know, snatch out of your hand, and I was just, Kelly and I were just there, man, just ready to throttle him if he tried to take it from you for real in front of us, you know. But he gave it back to you. But, you know, we took you to movies, and yeah, you were terrified to go to a movie in case it was not, you know, didn't match up with his idea of what was good. It was a Lion King, you know. But
Yeah.
anyway, that had triggered my first bout of depression, you know, which came from, you know, dealing all of a sudden, you know, being back with that childhood stuff again, and I wasn't, I was in the AVROTC, but I wasn't on active duty at that point, you know. I was in between. I'd already gone off of the Gulf War, you know, come back. This was my first time, you know, like being in college. I wasn't just 24/7 go 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 in the military, you know, and them deciding everything I did, you know. So I had a lot of time on my hands to think about the past and try to deal with it. And just kind of,
There we
I
go.
felt crushed, you know, because I wanted to rescue you and Wendy so bad, you know, but I would just went into major depression.
Mm.
And then here we are, you know, I got treatment, you know, through the psychologist there while I was in college, first time I ever did.
Mm.
But then after the stuff happened with Kelly, I knew I had to go back, you know, get some treatment because I was in severe depression. So I was on, I'm trying to think which type of antidepressants I was on for a long time. You know, it definitely helped me a lot, you know, so I could function. They were really good, but and I didn't have any emotions, you know, on the antidepressant. I mean, which was, I mean, it was good for me not being severely depressed. You know, I could do my job, take care of patients and take care of the family, you know. But I wanted to be able to, hey, every now and then, if I saw something sad, you know, or emotional, I wanted to be able to cry, you know.
Mm.
And when I was, I want to say it's sertraline type style antidepressant, but I could have the names wrong. It's been long. Anyway, so years later, you know, I was working for the VA and receiving treatment through the VA, and I had this really good VA psychiatrist that was, you know, working with me, and I was talking to him like, "Hey, doc, I'm like, is there anything I can take to get? Can I get off these antidepressants? You know, I'm like, they're working really good, but I described, like I said, I just want to have regular, you know, emotions, you know."
Mm.
And I was like, well, have you tried propranolol? I'm like, no, what's that? He's like, well, it was initially designed for hypertension, but it turns out that another side effect of it is people that use it don't have any anxiety. It's a really good anxiety drug. Like, well, what are the side effects? He's like, well, far less than what you're on now, and actually none. He's like, it's such a good medicine that a lot of internal medicine doctors joke that we should put it in the water so that everyone would have low blood pressure and no anxiety, you know, because there's no side effects. So I've been on that since about 2015, 2016, after Kelly died, you know, and after my dad, you know, later died in the VA after finding Kelly, you know. That's worked for me, but I also got highly involved in group therapy sessions, you know, that the VA had in Billings, Montana. I worked at that VA clinic, and and then I've seen psychologists through the VA. I also have done equine therapy, which is doesn't use any drugs. But the VA actually had a program for that in Helena, Montana, Fort Harrison VA. I really love that. Did not involve any more drugs, but we didn't involve riding horses. I've been with some that did, but this one we just involved doing things with horses, and then that would like give us use horses kind of as a symbolic, of what we were going through, and doing, and that really helped a lot. It was a group of it was like a retired, it was a chaplain, social worker, and a psychologist, that would have these sessions with me with the horses. Really cool. Worked out real good. So I've seen all kinds of different modalities and way to treat, PTSD. And before we talk about yours, which why we got you on board, you and I together. You got a little bit of time more?
Yeah, because it's already 10 and I got to get up at 4 in.the morning to go to the airport.
Oh, so, sorry. Well, let's just real quick. You and I did Project Odyssey through Wounded Warrior Project together, right? Outside of Tulsa. I liked it a lot. I don't know if you got as much out of it as I did, but I had just gone through Save a Warrior. Was an intensive complex PTSD treatment program, but it's not traditional style of treatment, and it worked real good for me. So by the time I did Project Odyssey, I think I got a lot more out of it, maybe than you did. I don't know, but I can't knock it. I really like Wounded Warrior Project and everything they offer. But let's talk about what you've done recently. Like you said, does not use any chemicals, right? And yet you say that you're getting really good treatment. Is it just for depression, or is it for PTSD too, or what is it?
It's originally for depression, but they found out that it actually crosses over different sides of your brain. They use the left side is where all the depression side is, the frontal lobe.
Yeah.
And they move over to the right side. The right side's for anger and PTSD, that kind of stuff. And they did that in VA, and it helped a little bit. They're not doing it in this one because they said that they found that it actually kind of makes its way over there naturally. Like when one side gets calm, and kind of helps the rest of the brain calm down. So,
what's it called, Matt? For the people that don't, haven't talked to you and me before.
TMS. It's called transcranial magnetic brain stimulation or magnetic stimulation. Hey, good.
Okay, transcranial magnetic stimulation. Yeah.
Stimulation.
And you say this is it's like a miniature MRI. You said
it is. Yeah, it's based on the MRI architecture, but it's like a low level, non-invasive, like it's not radioactive. You don't have to worry about dangers of it. It just puts in magnetic pulses at certain frequencies that the brain's nerves excites the nerves, and they've showed like pictures just like an MRI of a brain that was really depressed, where it's almost no how do you call it? No
activity, or
not a lot of activity, and then it just lights it up like a fireworks, like it's totally different. And it does make a difference. Like I started, like I was telling you, I thought I had major fatigue, but this has literally cleared that up. It wasn't fatigue, it was depression, where I just didn't want to do anything.
Oh, wow.
I wanted to sleep all the time, and I couldn't stay awake, and I always felt like I was, I had major physical problems, and the doctors couldn't find anything in the VA, and I thought they were lying to me, and like, what do you mean you can't find anything? Like, there's something. And that wiped that out when two or three visits, 5 minutes apiece, wipes half that right back out. Like, it started to come back again recently, and so I went and asked them if I could go again, and they told me to drive to the VA an hour and a half away, but I had to go every day for like 3 days a week or 4 days a week. And I was like, well, even though they're paying for the gas and stuff, they're not covering my time. Like, I can't just be gone from my house every day for 5 hours. So
because you're self-employed, you have your own business.
Yeah, but I still can't be away. Like, I need to do stuff. I need to work. I need to talk to people, customers.
Well, that's what I mean. You especially can't be away as someone who's self-employed. That's you lose your business if you were.
So they put me in community care. I mean, that didn't take about 2 or 3 weeks, and they've got me in a clinic. It's only a 4-minute drive or 6-minute drive. So,
and for folks who don't understand, Care in the Community was approved under the last presidential administration, and that expanded our opportunities to receive care. It also increased the amount of veterans that we looked at for all kinds of, well, Matthew and I have, disabilities ratings. And there's a lot more veterans now receiving care, and they increased the funding for it last administration. But then now, sadly, like my best friend Matt, that I had you talk to, Jose out there in California, he had 26 people on his Veterans Benefits Administration team. That's part of the VA that determines what percentage of disability rating of a veteran should get, which means everything. Because as you know, that got you up to 100%, right? Well, his team has now been reduced from 26 for all of San Diego County, and even for areas outside of San Diego. That's an enormous population of veterans, right? They're now down to 2 people. All the rest of them have been furloughed, and he's going to be at half pay right now. He's one of the 2 to get to stay. So we're not doing our veterans right, and more veterans like you and me need to be able to receive things, get that disability rating, so that we can have paid for treatment for PTSD that was caused by combat that you're talking about. The trauma that we.
Well, this stuff.
You were in country for 18 months, right? Even after Kelly got blown up.
I was supposed to be, but they knocked it down to 12. It's supposed to be 15 months. And they knocked it down to 12.
Yeah, 15, 12 still. That's a long
time. Way too long. Long
time. Yeah.
Well, after he got blown up, it felt like a prison after that. The only thing that kept me alive and surviving mentally was my Afghanistan friend, Hushal. And I still talk to him occasionally. He's under duress right now. He's pretty much a hostage in his own village right now with the Taliban. Ever since he pulled out, so he's he called me begging for money not too long ago, and I could see there was people behind him, behind the camera, telling him what to say. So I felt really terrible, but I couldn't give him money. Plus, I would get myself in trouble. If my country found out.
Right.
So I had to explain to him, sorry, I don't have any way to do that. So I did write him a letter of recommendation, to try to get him over here for the visa.
Yeah.
He's still in process for that. So if he comes over here, he has his daughter over here. She came over in the first wave, and some of the grandkids, but I don't.
Well, we're cutting that off, and we're sending most of them back right now. We're cutting off the asylum for them. So, man, well, so this TMS treatment that you're getting, because I know you got to go to sleep. You say that how many treatments did you do the first time before you had?
The VA did a speed up process, which is kind of cool. They did like 2 sessions per day for 5 days a week, or 4 days a week. So I did like I think it was like 4 sessions actually. Did one. I don't know. Yeah, I did like 4 sessions, two sessions per day, 10 minutes each or whatever. I forget what it was, but it was like 36 sessions by the time I was done, or 50 sessions, something like that.
Oh wow!
And it within 2 weeks, I started thinking clear. I started saying things that I didn't realize I could say anymore. Like I started standing up for myself, and I would just I wouldn't react to things like I used to, like an instantaneous.
Yeah, wouldn't overreact. You saying?
Yeah. The only time I do now is if I'm put into dealing with my son's problems or the niece, that kind of stuff, because it's kind of so much at once that it almost surpasses the capability of that treatment to do what it's supposed to do. Really, truthfully, to do that treatment to work the best is you need to be in a home or in an area that's not stressing you out if you can help it. That way you can build better, and then you can go into that kind of situation. It's a lot harder when you're in the situation trying to clean it out, but it still works.
Yeah.
It's just makes
you got to build back those neurons, and you can't keep assaulting those neurons with more trauma while you're treating the trauma. Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
It's a miracle stuff. It's literally, and it's no side effects. That's the best part. I told them, I said, I can't do medications because they give me side effects. Like you were saying, sexual side effects, more depression, weird feelings where you don't feel like anything. And when I was in Japan, I was actually I forget what it was called, but it was terrible. It just dulled your senses. There was no sexual activity at all. You didn't even get turned on to anything. It was really ruined.
You're on a medication that did that, prescribed by the VA?
And the
Yeah.
psychiatrist is one of those people that I don't like. One of the ones that just wants to throw pills at you. Oh, you don't like that one? Let me throw you
Yeah.
another one. Oh, you don't like that one? Let me throw another one. And I was like, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not your guinea pig. Like I don't
Yeah.
want this type of treatment.
Well,
And
that's
I had
why
a good,
I love the one that I had in Montana. He had been an Army psychiatrist. He and his wife both had, and I think they did like 8 or more years. And then he moved to work at the VA. But he was you would have loved him, Mac, because he, like I say, he got me off of the I think it was sertraline, and onto propranolol. And then Montana had at that time legalized medical marijuana. You know, and I'll ask him, like, what do you think about THC? Would there be any health benefits for that? He's like, he said CBD is what he thought, actually could help. So not THC, but CBD.
CBD is pretty
So
good.
yeah, he thought that was a good adjunct, to the propranolol. So and so he was just really cool, and he did a lot of talking. I guess the VA kind of got pissed off that he spent so much talking time with patients because they wanted him just to be the medication manager
Yeah.
and leave they wanted the talk therapy to be up to the social workers and psychologists,
Mhm.
But he was the best. Probably one of the, well, yeah, I would say he's the best talk therapist I ever had, even though I didn't want him to do it. It was really cool. So I'm going to look more. You told me about this TMS before, and I really need to look into it.
Yeah, you need to do it. It's a game changer. Like it doesn't. I can't even explain it. It's so good. Like I've never had anything actually work at all, and definitely that quick. It's like instantaneous. Like your gratification is within weeks, not months, not years. I like it.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, like I was
Well,
telling you
like I
earlier,
said, I did save a warrior.
Mhm.
No, tell me more.
No, I was saying I might one day like look into getting into it, depending on the training required. If it's not a full doctor's degree.
Oh yeah, buying the unit so you could help other people. That'd be awesome,
Mhm.
man. I would love to do that
I'd like
with
to
you
make
if I
it
could.
into I'd like to make it into because I have the land now, but I want to still buy a Zen ranch with my mechanic shop and everything on it all together. And
Yeah.
so that's why I joined this Operation Motorsports program, because it put me into and I'm still working on it. It put me into the proper areas with millionaires and billionaires that love people that are really friendly.
Yeah.
And hopefully, I'm probably gonna have to go out and stretch myself out a little more, do some work for some of these companies that I work for again, to get really deep enough, get them to trust me, so they know I'm not just some fly by night person. Because they don't want to throw their money into nothing, even though they like me a lot already. But yeah, it's a slow process. But unlike somebody who I won't mention in our family, I'm actually trying to do
Right.
it. It's a slow cook. It's a simmer. I'm not going to fry it and burn it.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely not going to like throw the pan and throw it in the trash. I just got to be patient and wait for it to finally slowly happen.
Well, even though I'm loving my profession now as a teacher, just absolutely, I would love to, if you do get into if you decide to get your own TMS machine and start treating people, I'd love to, hey, come down there and do that with you. That'd be awesome, I would think. The other thing that I've done, just before you go, is Save a Warrior. That they got us. The big part of their thing was meditation. And using meditation to rebuild those neural pathways. They've shown that the neurons can be regrown or at least improve themselves. If with meditation, they've demonstrated this with MRIs. So they had a neurologist that wrote a book about this called "How God Changes the Brain." And of course, when I heard that title, due to the religious abuse that you and I went through, with Mom's second husband, that it freaked me out. But it turns out they're not talking about. They actually say that fundamentalism hurts the brain, but non-fundamentalism, and well, actually, that's called how God prayer. Anyway, it's about how meditation can heal the brain.
Mhm.
Prayer, if it's prayer meditation, not prayer for your magic wishes to come true,
Yeah.
but actually to meditate, that rebuilds your neurons. But in the book also, they found the fundamentalists use the lizard part of the brain,
Mhm.
that frontal cortex that's damaged that you're talking about,
Yeah.
and they don't use the other part that you're finding gets awakened with TMS.
Mhm.
So they're finding that meditation also does that. So I think a combo of TMS and meditation might do it for me. So I'm gonna look into that.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I love you, man. It's just awesome to have you
Yeah. And
still out here
this
kicking
program
and
that
making the best of yourself.
I'm flying out to tomorrow is a game changer. And they took me to Wales last year, and I thought that was the one. I'm one and done, right? Because usually you do 1 year, and then you go
So
on.
tell us
Somebody.
just the name of it, since no one knows what we're talking about, what it
Yeah,
is.
it's called Operation Motorsports. It's a Canadian. It was started by Canadians, and then they combined with Americans because they wanted to spread it out further, and there wasn't enough people, because Canada's not as receptive as we are to that kind of stuff. And
To what kind of stuff? What do you mean?
to like Wounded Warrior type of stuff, like they're not as into
Yeah,
it. Like
so
we are.
it's
A lot harder.
designed for you to be able to go out there and work on race cars and travel with the
Yeah.
race team, right? As the
Yeah. They call
combat veteran.
They call it immersion therapy, which is what it is. It tricks you into thinking you're having fun, which you are, but it puts you into stressful situations with other veterans, and it puts you into stressful situations with really high speed stuff. And so it kind of tests your mettle and like forces you to face things that you don't normally think about too much with other, with somebody in the background to help you out. And you end up
Right.
you end up getting that commodity that you almost get this. I mean, I don't hate to say it. It's actually true. There's actually a lot of veterans on these race teams, which I met, like the Air Force guys, a couple Army guys, that aren't part of us. But the race teams
Yeah.
are
So it's group
really
therapy. What you're saying, just
Yeah.
like
it's giant group therapy. But then the race teams, you find out they're about the same as military. They operate about the same. They have the same standards, same protocol, same strictness, and that things have to be done certain ways, or somebody
got
dies.
it.
So it's really
Right.
you almost feel
Yeah.
like you're naturally back in the Army or whatever you're in. But and then on top of that, they do
Yeah.
they do better than that.
regimented, disciplined lifestyle.
Yeah. But it's like a family. Like I told you, that one that you came to visit when you came to Indy, that Flying Lizard Motorsports had already accepted me in like one of their own. They still this last race I went to, I every morning I would go to greet them because they really like me. I mean, it's not like they're just being cordial, and nice. They literally like longed to see me and shook my hand, shook the joints off my wrist when they shook my hand. And these are millionaires, these are people that
I
most
got to
people
ask you.
Uh,
You say the Canadians are not as receptive to this type of thing, but could it just be that they're not as warmongers as we are, so they don't have as many combat vets
no, it's not that. It's not that as much as they
need therapy.
They don't have as much amount of vets, yeah, but they do have the same problems we have. That they just don't. They're not as out there as we are, but they're out there. They were in Afghanistan with me. A lot of them.
Yeah. Oh, no. I know they're out there. I know they're in Afghanistan, but they haven't. They don't go to war as often as we do.
No, they don't. They don't have a reason to. Yeah, they don't have as much in there. They don't have as much sticks in the soup or the spoons in the pots.
Yeah.
But
they haven't been colonials in a while.
Yeah, but you run into a few people like I told you. I'm glad this year the originator, the CEO, spoke out and said absolutely no political and religious discussions will be allowed during this time because it's not beneficial to your fellow person to sit there and argue about stuff. When you're supposed to be getting therapy, not fighting. And so that's actually nice. I'm looking forward to that because I got
supposed to reducing stress, not adding to it.
Yeah. I had to block somebody, actually, one of the group members, and he knows he's blocked, and it's for my own good because I didn't want to fight with him. I just blocked him. I was like, I'm not going to argue with you about this or that. You feel the way you do, I feel the way I do, and the fact that you're attacking me doesn't give you the right to attack me just because you want to, and I'm not attacking you, so I'm just going to go ahead and call it quits. I blocked him on Facebook, but and it turns out he's done the same thing to a lot of other people in the group, so I'm not really worried about it. I mean, I'm going to have to face him. Yeah. In fact, this is probably going to be a good time. We're probably going to have some shoulder crying and back patting, and it'll be an unblocking moment. But it's going to have to come from him because I'm not. I'm not going to I've learned to stand my ground. If I don't feel some way, then
Yeah.
I don't like it. I just leave them. I don't feel that way.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I say myself, it was 100 times better than Wounded Warrior that I went to with you because of the amount of true, unabashedly just people crying in a large room for hours and just hugging each other and telling stories. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was. We cried so hard. I think we cried out every bottle of whiskey that we drank for 2 days, which is another thing that they let us do, which is nice. We just sit around and get drunk pretty much. That we're allowed to be ourselves and tell stories, show videos, hug each other, talk about stuff, sometimes get into an argument, here and there over something, but not in a mean way. And it's like, and then they read letters. We have a letter reading thing, which is the biggest, one of the biggest emotional parts of it, because people's wives, husbands, and stuff are sending letters in about how they feel about them, stuff they can't say to their face.
Yeah.
Or they can say it, but we don't accept it because we're too stressed out and don't, we ignore them. We tend to ignore. And like last year when I was in Wales, my wife sent a letter, and it was really, really broken English. She had to have a friend kind of translate it, and it was like it broke the guy down. The guy that was reading it, he started crying his ass off. He was like, "What's wrong with me? Like, who gave me this letter? I'm gonna beat you up later after we're done." because her
actually
trauma, sounds like your other one.
Yeah. It's, when I went to Save a Warrior, we had to be promised to be, I think it was 30 days sober at least before we went. Of course, couldn't drink while we were there, but it was a huge bonding experience. I mean, the crying was part of it. We couldn't cry and scream it out and get rid of it. We couldn't complete it. So that was definitely having that primal scream, primal cry, and just let it all go.
We didn't do that, but we did it. Like I told you, Diesel, which is the Tiffany's husband. They're the founders, co-founders. I didn't know he was the co-founder. I thought because he had he was a Marine, so he had a military haircut. He still got the high and tight, and he's still tough looking. Yeah. And he caught me at the back of the room after I'd had the long. I spent an hour and a half showing Kelly's video, and then all of us crying and hugging each other and being stupid and drinking, and laughing and coming out of it. He sat down with me until 2 a.m. talking about Kelly's story, adding on to it.
Yeah.
And that's when I told you he took like 6, 7, 8 years of misery and just wiped it off. Like it's the way that he approached me was I'd never been approached the way he did, and it was a little bit abrupt and a little bit brash, and it irritated me, angered me. Yeah. But what he was doing was we did our immersion, we'd gotten that out of the way, and now he would show me it's time for some truth. Like it's time for you to shut up. It's pretty much what he was saying. It's time for you to shut up and start thinking and deciding what you want to do from here. Because the talking is good, and you can talk for the rest of your life and cry for the rest of your life. But there's a time for that. There's a time for you to move forwards. And he asked me after I told him the whole story. It was like 2 a.m, and I still didn't know who he was. And he asked me. He said, "So where do we go from here?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "How do you stop crying and being and worrying about this in this way, and how do you move to a different level, to a better level?" And immediately I wanted to attack him. I still didn't know who he was. Immediately I wanted to start arguing. I got all defensive, and he just stood there and took it. He just stood there. He knew it was going to cause a reaction, and he goes, "I'm not saying to forget about your brother by any means whatsoever." He goes, "But if he was sitting here, if he was sitting here," he said, if he was in this room, which he kind of is, he said, because you brought him here. If he was in this room physically, though, and here, how would he feel about you? How do you say it? How would he feel about you? It's not. I can't remember his exact words because it was such a profound experience. But he pretty much said, what do you think he would think about you dragging yourself down over him like this for years? And I said, And I just started bawling, and I said, I mean, the truth. I said the truth is, he would tell me to stop. He'd be like, "Stop this crap,"
Yeah.
I'm not here. This
Yeah.
is not. He said,
Yeah.
He said, "Do you think he'd want you to be miserable thinking about him and sad all the time, or do you think he'd want you to be happy and move forwards and tell his story, but move to better things?" And I said, "Well, yeah, he wouldn't want me to be happier and not worry." He said, "So then do that." And it was like the most brash. Like, what the hell? What kind of who are you, you son of a bitch? How can you just
Yeah.
tell me to give up everything for the past 7 or 8 years and just do it? And I sat there and I thought about it, and he just sat there looking at me. He didn't reply. He didn't say anything anymore. He just sat there and let me think about it. And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, Stop dragging yourself down and take the positive that he would want you to have, and let's start moving forwards. How about that?" And I just sat there and thought about it. And it was like somebody just lifted a giant ass rock off my foot, and I could start walking again.
Oh yeah.
And,
Well,
and I
when
just,
you told me that the first time, I told you I could relate because what killed me for years, was that I got Kelly to join the Marine Corps, the first time, right? Accidentally. I meant for him to join the reserves, but when I left and went back to my duty station, I got him to go active duty, but that ended up being a good 4 years, But then the second time I took him to the, recruiters when his wife got pregnant. He was terrified that he wasn't going to have, wouldn't have any medical care for the delivery of his baby, and he had no, health insurance. And I took him, I got him to be the, join. I meant for him to be a psych technician like the Army has, but they made him a combat medic instead, But, I also got him, invite him out there to California with me on San Diego. That's where he was living when he joined, So I think you remember me telling you that one of the last conversations we had, one of the last visits, he was pissed off because his wife had been, extremely mean and abusive to him one night. He's like,
"Oh yeah,
I wish you would." He blamed me, for what he'd gone through. I'm like, that hit me hard because he never, ever, 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 never attacked me, he held me on a pedestal, and I was like, shit. Basically, I think if I remember correctly, it was if I'd ever gotten to go to San Diego, wouldn't happen. Well, I'm like, of course, they were already married before we went out there, so he would have gotten pregnant eventually,
That'd be something."
That that was a heavy weight for years, the fact that I got him to join, got you to join. Here you are with PTSD, because
No,
what
it's
he went
not.
through and died.
I don't.
So
I don't blame. I don't blame anybody for that.
for years for that,
I don't blame you for that at all. I joined because I wanted to.
No,
Because I wanted to be. What's that? Are you there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you joined because you wanted to, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I wanted to fly a helicopter, so I was under the impression that I could do that, which of course got shot out of the air. But
yeah.
But I'm not. That's another thing I had to get over
when I was
too.
in Save a Warrior, and Save a Warrior, our very last night, that was part of it. Was letting that primal scream out, and saying we're sorry, to whoever it was we wanted forgiveness from. I scream that out, to Kelly, sorry, Kelly. That was my big scream, and cry.
I wish.
But, hey, my
my phone's about to die.
Yeah, mine's about to die.
Well, I got to take a quick shower anyways, and then get the rest of these clothes. We're not clothes. Get the get my brain working where I can remember to get up at 4 a.m. and drive and get my CPAP and all that stuff packed up really fast.
All right.
I wish you could.
Which is another,
Yeah, another part of my disability. I didn't realize I had that forever.
yeah. Thank God to see it. The VA pays for that for you. That sleep apnea treatment.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing I tell people. It's like nothing in life's guaranteed. Because I get people that are like, "Well, you got 100% disability. You're good. You're good for life." I said, "Nothing in life is guaranteed. Nothing is promised. Not even tomorrow." So I'm adding my own job. I want to make it where if the VA one day said, "Screw you, we're not paying you anymore," I'd be sitting on my new businesses paying for myself. I don't want to ever depend on anyone else 100%. To me, that's not smart.
Yeah.
So
In the meantime, it is giving your wife medical care,
oh yeah,
you medical care, and your son medical care. So thank God.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to send her probably to. She wants to go to barber school, and I'm gonna probably use the VA's education stuff for it here.
Oh yeah,
and send her to
good.
barber school so she can become. She's already got a guaranteed job down here as soon as she graduates with this old lady that she took over a barber shop with a guy that was almost 100 years old. I forgot to tell you about that. That was. I felt like I was back with Papa again, sitting around all these old men, listening to all the gossip and everybody joking and talking about ranches, ranching and churches and just normal stuff. It was so refreshing to hear all these people just sitting there with a dog. This lady brought her dog in, not even a service dog, and just let it sit there on the floor. When they're getting their haircut.
Yeah.
It's really, really relaxing.
Oh heck yeah. That's why we gotta love the rural part of America. That's why I'm trying to get elected here as magistrate in Hardin County. Well, Matt, I'm about to exit off of Bluegrass Parkway, so I'll let you. I'm gonna let you go and pack up. All right.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna take a shower and get to bed. But
all right.
I will talk to
you.
Really. We'll connect it again, and I kind of want to have another one during this time because we're gonna have a lot of stuff going on. I'd like to kind of like catch back up and tell some more about the program.
Heck yeah, please. And, that's exciting. I'd like to help you advertise for it since it's helped you so much.
Yeah, they're nonprofit. I mean, that's part of why I'm doing these decals, and they can't afford a lot, and I don't want to charge them a lot, even though I'm worth. This decal work's worth about $500. I'm only going to charge them about $150, and then I was willing to take that, and by me telling him that, the guy I was telling you about that talked to me originally, the owner.
Yeah.
He said, well, we're glad that you want to help us, but we also want you to get what you deserve. And they said, how about we do this? You make all these extra decals. We're going to sell them back to our people and any public people, and then you keep all the proceeds. So they're literally going to make me about $500 anyways. So that's how it's supposed to work. That's how you're supposed to treat each other.
Awesome. Because that's your business, is making decals for people who don't know. So car decals.
Yeah. Car decals, and then
race cars and regular cars, any car.
Yep. All right. Well, I'm gonna. We'll do. We'll talk about that more later. In fact, I'd like to get on. I'm gonna start my own channel. I'm probably invite you to it. I don't know if you do TikTok, but I actually like TikTok. It's got a really good fan base. But we'll get onto that one day. They have a lot of veteran programs on there. There's a lot of VSOs on TikTok. That's where I learned a lot of my stuff from, which is really neat too. But
oh, cool.
Yeah, there's a couple ladies that help me out big time on there.
All right.
Well, I'll talk to you soon. I gotta go. I'm already way past my time limit of sleeping.
All right. So, well, I love you, brother.
Yeah, me too. We'll talk more.
All right. Have a good time with the race.
Yep. I'll keep in touch.
All right.
All right.
Yes, sir. Bye. So, folks, that's going to be it for tonight. I really appreciate having everybody on here. Remember, I'm running for Hardin County Magistrate, District 3, and love your brother and love your sister as you love yourself. Love our neighbors as yourself. We are our brothers and sisters keeper. Bless your corazón. Good night.